The novel that teacher's writing, when she starts talking about milky white thighs and bratwurst pulsating with desire, I was like, what is this movie about?
I think Big D might have missed the point that this is a comedy. I don't know. You're aware this is not a documentary.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we love when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I'm one of your three hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Jean Jennifer Lyons.
The shit hath hitteth the fan-ith.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week the audience selects from 4 movie choices that we then break out our VHS race car tape rewinders and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes at the end of each podcast. The three of us will provide you, the audience, with the number of each wipes it would take to get off your butts. Thank you so much for listening. If you found us just by happenstance or someone recommended, go ahead and hit the little subscribe button wherever you get your podcast and make sure to follow us everywhere on social media. Big D, the movie choices this week were Shakespeare adaptations in the 90s. What was the theme?
This was recommended by a friend of mine. She wanted to see some romantic films for the ladies, which I'm not quite sure that we got, but she had said she liked She's All That, Ghost, Titanic, and the winner from 1999, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Aha. Yeah. I don't understand how 10 Things I Hate About You sunk the Titanic. I have no idea, or how it, exercised Ghost, because this is the perfect epitome of why we do this podcast. I believe people's memories of this movie are so distorted.
Yeah, well, we did this movie because someone named Gene Lyons went online and promoted people to actually vote.
What?
And, yes, and it went from Titanic, which I was pulling for. That is a masterpiece of cinema. And instead, we got stuck with this. So we'll blame Gene. But somehow, this is a 72 on Rotten Tomatoes. How's that happen?
Yeah, in my defense, I didn't say, hey, everyone, go vote for 10 Things I Hate About You. I just said, hey, everybody, go vote. They felt like 10 Things I Hate About You is the thing I needed. I hadn't seen it before, so I had no idea.
Yeah, I had never seen 10 Things I Hate About You either. And I think I purposely avoided this movie because I knew it was going to be the movie that that I ended up watching. It's not good. It's preview. This is going to be one of, listen, if you enjoy Shat the Movies episodes where we shat all over the movie, I think this is one that you're going to enjoy. I think this is one that you're going to like. So, 10 Things I Hate About You is it's a movie adapted from Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. It involves a pretty popular teenager who can't go out on a date until her ill-tempered older sister, the Shrew, is also has a date. It was released in March 1999, specifically March 31st, 1999, the same weekend as The Matrix. It was number 2 that week. It was directed by Gil Younger. It grossed $53 million worldwide. It only cost $30 million to make. I think all of that $30 million went to licensing costs for Letters to Cleo. It was rated PG-13 for crude sex-related humor and dialogue, alcohol, and drug-related scenes, all involving teenagers. Guys, I had never seen this movie. Gene had never seen this movie. That leaves you, Big D. When was the first time you saw this movie?
I thought I'd seen it. I could remember the stadium serenade that Heath Ledger does, and I thought I'd seen it, but I definitely had not seen this. There's no way I would have watched the entire thing. This weekend, every 4th of July, we go up to a friend's house in South Carolina. Nice lake house, has a boat, couple jet skis. They also have a movie theater in the basement, which was perfect. So I was excited. My friends listened to the podcast, so I said, why don't we're going to go watch 10 Things I Hate About You. Surprisingly, no one objected. There was 10 of us in a movie theater watching this movie because everyone had good memories. When it was over, no one had good memories and no one was happy we had just spent almost 2 hours watching this movie.
Yeah, as a Shakespeare fan, I realized that this was, pretty early on, realized that this was an adaptation of Taming of the Shrew. And so I was excited. Now, I have seen the Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor Taming of the Shrew, and I'm a big fan of that movie, big fan of Shakespeare. And that actually served to be the sword that gutted me, was that I expected too much just hearing that Shakespeare was any way associated with this movie.
Now, Big D, we were doing some research before, and you ended up being correct. This was Heath Ledger's first big breakout film, correct?
Well, it was his second film. He had done an Australian kids movie. I think it was called Paws, where he was the voice of a dog. So yes, this was
okay. So this is all right.
This is the role, and this is the movie that made him a household name and a heart, a heartthrob.
Anybody who's thinking about going to the lake house with Big D next year, just a warning, you'll be watching Paws.
No, I'm sure they'll be voting early and often next year.
Yeah. The only thing that I can think about this movie is it came out during a time, and if I could put myself in the hypothetical pitch meeting where this movie was pitched to Touchstone Pictures, I assume it went, hey, American Pie is crazy. Can't Hardly Wait was fantastic. We need a combination of all those films, but we're going to throw in Shakespeare at the same time. All those elements combined ended up into one big giant turd of a movie that was 10 Things I... What is the whole movie title based on? That final poem at the end? That's it? Where are the 10 things she hates about him?
Yeah, that's it. It's the final. It's
the final poem.
It's the Peter. Yeah, it's the Peter Griffin. Oh, that's why they call it that moment, where basically they had to throw it in there. And God, what an awful poem.
Yeah, not good. Not good. Did Shakespeare rhyme very often? He only rhymed for in certain plays and for certain comedic value, correct?
Yeah, typically it was just written, in iambic pentameter, and it had a cadence to it, but not necessarily rhyming. Although, Macbeth had a lot of rhyming in it. The Tempest had a lot of rhyming in it. So, a fair amount of rhyming, but not that kind of rhyming. That was awful.
Yeah. So if you've never watched the movie, here's the format. We're going to break down the entire plot for you and then talk about it. So now's your time to press pause on your podcast. Go watch this movie and then come back. Final warning, 3, 2, 1, Big D, play the trailer.
There's a difference between like and love. Because I like my Skechers, but I love my Prada backpack.
Bianca Stratford is the most popular girl at Padua High.
You're asking me out?
I'm down. I've got the 411, and you are not going out and getting jiggy with some boy. I don't care how dope his ride is.
Her sister, Kat, is something else entirely.
People perceive you as somewhat tempestuous. Heinous witch is the term used most often.
The only thing they have in common...
I am the only girl in school who's not dating.
Oh, no, you're not. Your sister doesn't date.
...is one simple rule.
Okay, you can date. When she does.
But she's a mutant. What if she never dates?
Then you'll never date. Oh, I like that.
For Cameron...
No one will go out with her.
It's a problem.
Would any of you be interested in dating Katerina Stratford?
Maybe if we were the last 2 people alive, and there were no goats. Are there goats?
For Patrick...
And what about him? I heard he ate a live duck once. Everything but the beak and feet.
It's a challenge.
So you two are going to help me tame the wild beast?
Absolutely.
And for Kat... It's about time.
Well, come on, think about it. Me with my arm around you.
You covered in my vomit.
I'd like to discuss tomorrow night with you. Now, as you know, it's the prom.
Touchstone Pictures presents...
Stay cool, bro. Yes,
a story for every guy who's ever tried.
You never give up, do you?
Was that a yes?
No.
Well, then was that a no?
No.
Every girl who's ever hoped.
You're not as vile as I thought you were.
This is not good.
And anyone who's ever been taken completely by surprise.
She kissed me.
Where?
In the car. You're concentrating awfully hard considering it's gym class.
10 Things I Hate About You.
All right, Cameron James, a new student at Padua High School in the Seattle area, becomes instantly smitten with popular sophomore Bianca Stratford. Geeky Michael Ekman warns him that Bianca is vapid and conceited, and that her overprotective father does not allow Bianca or her older sister, the shrewdest Kat, to date. Kat, a senior, is accepted to Sarah Lawrence College in New York, but her father, Walter, wants her to stay close to home. Bianca wishes to date affluent senior Joey Donner, but Walter, an obstetrician, worrisome of teenage pregnancy, will not allow his daughters to date until they graduate. Frustrated by Bianca's insistent and Kat's rebelliousness, Walter declares that Bianca may date only when Kat does, knowing that Kat's antisocial attitude makes this highly unlikely.
Okay, we're going to start the title sequence. Did they do this with clip art and Windows 1995 Word? The font was terrible. The entire opening sequence with the bare naked ladies, which they have a warm place in my heart. It looked and felt much older than 1999.
Yeah, I want to, as a benchmark, just to set everybody up for this. Before you start saying, oh, it was the 90s, this was 99. The Matrix was out the same time. 3 years prior, you had Romeo and Juliet starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Titanic was out before this. So when you're talking about, giving it a little bit of leeway based on the year, this is pretty late in the game to use the year as an excuse.
You know what it felt like to me? It felt like a foreign film was trying to make a movie about Americans in the 1990s. Like someone who only knows the real world and road rules from MTV got together and decided to make a movie.
You mean someone like Gil Junger?
That's exactly right.
You're completely correct.
What do the Americans like? Oh, they like the bare naked ladies.
Gil Junger's American, just to be fair. I was just kidding.
Yeah, it felt like I think you said the real world MTV was so spot on. The stereotypes, they have them all. We got the preps, we got the goths, we got the nerds. Then they throw in an entire, what they call it?
The Rastafarians.
The white Rastafarians.
The white Rastafarians, okay. I didn't have those in my school, and I certainly did not have the cowboy subculture that walks around eating beans out of a can, standing out in front of the school with a spoon and doing lasso tricks. Was that part of your high school?
Yeah, well, I lived close to Kissimmee, so we definitely had the cowboys, but they only did one or the other. They didn't do both. Either they were eating the can with the spoon or they were lassoing people. But they called it hog tying. They were hog tying freshmen.
I mean, look, I understand why they did all this stuff, though, because you're looking in the 90s. This is exactly what high school kids want. So this movie was made for teenagers. And so they want very distinct groups. I thought the Rastafarians they were much more present in the movie than I would have liked. But you see that clip arty stuff that looks just like a yearbook, right? I think this is what they were going for. I do want to commend the movie on one thing, is that the actors were actually age appropriate. So you look at Heath Ledger, you look at Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you look at Julia Stiles, all of them were in their teen years when this movie was shot. Unlike when we saw, say, Ferris Bueller's Day Off or Pretty in Pink, where, Matthew Broderick was, 23 when they filmed Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Pretty in Pink, you had, everybody was in their 20s and late 20s, 30s even. So these actually, when you look at Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he looks like a kid because he is a kid.
Okay, I'm going to call bullshit. What about Patrick's skinhead friend who's in every scene with him? That guy was at least 45.
What are you talking about? Like his Patrick is the character played by Heath Ledger?
Yeah, his friend who's in wood shop with him. He always sits and eat lunches with. He looks like a 40-year-old skinhead. He looks like Sid Vicious.
I'm gonna pull a Big D play out of the old Shat the Movies playbook here. I think the skinhead friend was in like 4 scenes, and you're most concerned about him. Is that like a Mrs. Deagle from Gremlins moment that you just had?
I mean, look at it this way. I just named off movies where the entire cast was in their 20s. What I'm saying here is that your principal actors in this movie, who are supposed to be teenagers, are actually teenagers. So good on them for doing that, because that's one of my biggest complaints is when we watch these movies about high schools, all the people look like they've been working, a part-time job and have like look at Charlie Sheen was supposed to be like, this young ruffian in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He looks like appropriately like a 20-year-old who's been at the Viper Room all night.
Okay, I'll let that one go. But it seems like a common theme now of movies we've been doing lately is white privilege. There is no doubt that Kat's problems are little white girl problems. She's upset that daddy wants her to go to UW and she can't go to the school she wants to. It was so tiring. Even the teachers call him out. I don't remember the teacher's name. But he tells her, he says, next time you storm the PTA crusading for better meats or whatever you white girls complain about. Ask them why they can't buy books written by a black man. Even the characters know this is sad.
To be fair, Shakespeare didn't write a whole lot of multicultural plays in his time.
That has nothing to do with the teacher making a commentary about schools and what they're choosing to...
The Taming of the Shrew!
Oh, God,
it was all about white privilege. Well, those were the only people in noble England. In, what was that, the Victorian age? That was the Elizabethan era. I apologize.
Okay, but did Shakespeare also write romance novels? The 50 Shades of Grey.
If you believe Shakespeare in Love, yes, he did.
Because the novel that teacher's writing, when she starts talking about milky white thighs and bratwurst pulsating with desire, I was like, "What is this movie about?"
I think Big D might have missed the point that this is a comedy. I don't know. You're aware this is not a documentary, right, Big D?
This is not the Real World Seattle season 4.
I completely understand that, but it's ridiculous. You could be writing a romance novel without soliciting kids for words that are similar to engorged.
Yeah, but this is before the internet, right? This is before you could track teachers and guidance counselors' usage while they're using their MacBook laptops, right? I mean, so I actually empathized with the character of what was her name, Miss Perky. I liked Miss Perky. She was nice. She didn't give the kids detention. She would just be like, stop it, you. I got to go back to... I think she sexually came on to Heath Ledger at one point, too. When she's like, oh, why don't you go and whip that out, your big bratwurst? And he's like, what is going on here? What is this? I just came off the set of a movie where I voiced a dog, and now this?
So... I love that you guys are picking on these little things when there are glaring issues here. And I think the biggest is the whole setup where Walter, the father, like, what kind of sadistic bastard is he that he doesn't just say no dating? He's like, no. You can date if this awful hag that is my daughter also gets a date. And I'm sure that'll never happen because she's a raging dick. Like he's essentially putting down one daughter while restricting the other daughter and making a game out of their lives. Like, he's basically like, well, I don't want you to get impregnated or raped by anybody, but if it should come that my bet against myself fails, then fine.
Yeah, well, listen, I think he's playing game theory here, right? This is using all the principles of a competition to ensure that he ultimately gets what he wants, which is none of his daughters dating. None of his daughters should leave the house, which is interesting because what happened to the wife?
Well, I was going to ask that. He obviously doesn't mind pitting his daughters against each other and playing favorites. I'm starting to think the wife left. They hint she might have died. I think she left.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she left. Gene, are you in cahoots with that, or are you in lockstep with us there? Or do you believe that the wife left, or do you believe that she died?
I think it's an homage to Shakespeare, and that the Taming of the Shrew, the mother was absent. It's a recurring theme in Shakespeare, the absent mother. So I think it was just a nod. I don't think we're supposed to really know. He doesn't seem grief-stricken over her, so I don't know if she's dead.
With this sick bastard, she could very well be in the basement, buried.
Yeah, but let me ask you guys this, though. In the original Shakespeare, The Taming of the Shrew, she was also supposed to, like, not be attractive. She was also supposed to be someone that was, went against the era of women in the Elizabethan times where she didn't care about her look, she didn't care about dresses. She was kind of like an old sit-in hag, one that was probably never going to be married, which at the time was kind of the pinnacle of success for women. In this, Julia Stiles is hot. She's wearing little belly shirts. She's dancing on tables. She's getting drunk at, like, Letters to Cleo concerts. How is she a shrew? Just because she doesn't, like, listen to bare naked ladies and, run with the cool kids anymore?
If you put this somewhere in the deep South, like put it, tell this story in Mississippi, and you have this grunge type girl who likes this type of music, who's, a bit harsh and abrasive. She looked great in Seattle, in the Northwest. I would imagine she'd be very popular in high school.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this was the pinnacle of Seattle, like, was cool in America. Seattle's cool again now, but in the 90s, you couldn't find a cooler place to be kind of an alternative teenager than Seattle, Washington. Gene, how many trips did you take to Seattle? I assume Seattle has a huge goth scene.
Seattle has an okay goth scene. Portland's actually a bigger goth scene. I've only been there a handful of times, and I'm not actually a huge fan of it. It's although it's a very well-read city, I feel like it's overrated and it's really sold out. Like it's become a little too,
Of course,
too gentrified for me. So sorry, Seattle.
When Cameron asks Bianca out, she informs him of her father's new rule, and as a pretense for allowing her to date Joey, suggests that Cameron find someone willing to date Kat. Cameron selects bad boy Patrick Verona, but Patrick scares him off. Michael assists by convincing Joey to pay Patrick to take out Kat under the pretense that this will allow Joey to date Bianca. Patrick agrees to the deal, but Kat rebuffs his first few advances. Michael and Cameron help him by prying Bianca for information on Kat's likes and dislikes. Armed with this knowledge, Patrick begins to win Kat's interest. She goes on a party with him, which enables Bianca to go as well, much to Walter's dismay.
I feel we would be remiss if we don't take a moment right now to discuss Michael. Played by David Krumholtz, who famously is the elf in the Santa Claus, he's one of the odder aspects of this movie. Like, they never really explain what's in it for Michael. Like, why does he want to help Cameron so much? He reminds me of, like, Ducky, but less likable. I don't understand. He's giving him a tour. He's, like, riding a dirt bike down into the stadium. Like, does anyone, like, I didn't get why the hell he was helping in the first place.
This weekend, we referred to him as the Jewish Yoda. He seemed to be the school sage who was taking, Cameron under his wing. But why? What was in it for him? I thought a great reveal at the end would have been, it turned out that he liked Cameron all along, and this was all a ploy just to get him to realize that, that love was right in front of his eyes all this time.
No, the real reason that Michael is helping is he's got to get back into the yuppie club. They kicked him out. He made some bad investments. And if he can make this person cool again, he can get back into the yuppie crowd. He can get back in with Berkshirewitz.
You're full of shit. Then why would he have them throw a party at Bogey's house?
Yeah,
There's no way he's getting in again.
Yeah, he wanted Bogey to have a kick-ass party. Bogey would be cool again.
No, he's not. The Cowboys were all using that fine crystal as a spittoon.
Can we talk about how terrible? Listen, of all like the party, think of like when Superbad came out, or again, even using a '90s movie reference, the party in not She's All That, but come on, help me out.
Can't Hardly Wait.
Can't Hardly Wait. Thank you. That felt like an authentic like high school party, or a party that at least you thought, because I was never invited to parties in high school, so I imagine that's what a high school party felt like, more so than like a bogey party, which was absolutely terrible. It was there was like date rape going on upstairs when they were trying to pass back and forth the drunk girl to kiss them. Like, who does that? It's skeevy and gross and disgusting.
Yeah, I totally agree. The party scenes in this movie all around were, from the house party to Club Skunk, where, you're going to this small town Padua, club, and Letters to Cleo just happens to be playing, I'm assuming it's a lesbian bar that also lets teenagers in and also lets them drink. So watching movies like this as a teenager led me to believe that this was just a normal thing. And these movies really pissed me off when I finally became a teenager and realized that there was just jack shit to do until you were 21. I totally agree, Raj, that movies like Can't Hardly Wait were much more accurate in a depiction of what the hell the party was like, what real people were like. The groups weren't that defined. You actually just had people who had different aspects of themselves. It wasn't like, we're cowboys and that's it.
Okay, my problem with the party. High school kids, first of all, don't have any money, and they're not punctual. All the party goers who show up at Bogey's house for the flyer says free beer. Why is everyone carrying kegs? And everyone shows up at the exact same time at his front door? These are the most punctual party goers I've ever seen.
They were giving out flyers in the school hall. Like, they dropped down flyers. Are you telling me that party's not immediately going to get shut down by the police?
Or that Bogey didn't have a heads up that there was going to be a secret party at his house at night? But then everyone shows up. Why are they all wearing blazers and slacks to a house party?
No. I think that was just Bogey's crew. I think that was just the yuppies in the beginning.
Did you even look at what Cameron was wearing? He was wearing a nice dress jacket and matching like Dockers.
Everyone's pants looks like they're straight out of an MC Hammer video. They're all kind of like, parachute-y and just there's just way too much khaki going on here. But all the comedic parts fell flat. Like when they're having the fight, what's the fight about? Are there ancillary characters? And then it's just a dumb joke for Bogey to be like, take it outside, and then they crash outside the window, and he's like, thank you. Where is the comedy in this?
You mean other than driving the motorcycle off the ravine, or dad working out and shooting his elastic band through the neighbor's window? Yuck, yuck, yuck. It was all there. You didn't see it?
Yeah. I feel like if they would have taken the sound effects from like the Mexican America's Funniest Home Videos and just done that, where they replay the gag 2 or 3 times with like a boing, then it would be, a lot more enjoyable. I think that I'm trying to bring us back to some positives here to justify the fact that I didn't completely hate this movie. I know, like, crucify me right now, but at least, the names thing. The names thing was passable to me. So Patrick Verona represents Petruchio, who is from Verona. The setting is Padua, which is the same as the Taming of the Shrew. Cat is Catherine. I like it. I mean, they were trying.
Okay, Gene, you're the literary expert here. I felt there was multiple cases where the plot disrespected Kat's character. Kat is supposed to be a strong, independent woman. We're supposed to realize that's why people don't like her. But yet she continuously does things that is a complete betrayal of her character. She gets drunk at the party, and all of a sudden, she can get up there and start twerking. And what was it? Was this her tryout was Step, or what was that movie she did? Stomp?
It was Step Up.
Step Up, yeah.
Was this the tryout for Step Up, where she's twerking and she's dropping it on the table?
I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
it was okay.
I thought that was the best scene of the movie.
No, but that's not something she would do. There's multiple times throughout the movie, from flashing the teacher to getting upset at the fact that Patrick didn't kiss her when she was drunk. All the times that her strong female character should have been an asset, here it's a liability. And I can't believe I'm preaching about this character, but I felt betrayed.
Yeah, I feel like what they were trying to do, because both Patrick and Kat betray their characters, and I think what they were trying to do, although they didn't do a really good job of it, was show that the two of them, the effect that they have on each other, causes them to act completely out of order for themselves. So, like, Patrick becomes a really nice guy, Kat apparently shows her tits to a coach. Like, I don't know what that's all about. But that part to me, too, I was like, wait, did that just really, did that happen? As far as the getting drunk, though, at the party thing, I have friends who are very strong, independent women, have a lot of self-respect. And if they have a little too much to drink, everything goes out the fucking window. And they're just like absolute embarrassments to themselves.
I want to make a correction here. So save your angry tweets and YouTube comments. It wasn't Step Up. It was Save the Last Dance. But it's easily mistaken because there was a string of movies with Step Up, Save the Last Dance, and then Bring It On.
I think we're going to have to add a dance category.
It sounds like
fucking Dirty Dancing. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to just go back a little bit here because you talked about Club Skunk. So Dad's rule is no dating. He's got no problem with his girls going out to bars. So they go to Club Skunk. And Patrick, did you see those pants he was wearing? Those were like laminated. Those were shiny. I don't know what those were. But Patrick has obviously been in Club Skunk a few times. The bartender knows him by first and last name.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a big secret. He says it before he goes. He's like, I can't go there. Like, basically, it's a known thing. Like, he's known there. But as far as the pants go, I will supply you, gentlemen. I own those same exact pants in '99. I've got photos to prove it.
What are they made of? What's the material?
PVC.
Oh, shut up.
Are you for real?
I'm
you
serious.
have PVC pants?
Yeah.
And they're that shiny?
Yeah. No, I don't have them now. I was a size 28 back then.
Aha.
I was 6'1", 145.
Ooh.
You must have been popular in the goth clubs.
I was very popular in the goth clubs and Club Skunk. So anyway.
At the party, Kat becomes upset when she sees Bianca with Joey and responds by getting drunk. Patrick attends to her and Kat opens up, expressing her interest in starting a band. However, when she tries to kiss him, Patrick pulls away and Kat leaves infuriated. Meanwhile, Bianca ignores Cameron in favor of Joey, leaving Cameron dejected. Bianca soon realizes, however, that Joey is shallow and self-absorbed and asks Cameron for a ride home. Cameron admits his feeling for her and his frustration with how she has treated him. Bianca responds by kissing him.
Okay, for the most part, I was on Cameron's side up until this part of the movie. Now, Cameron, I did think it was a little weird that he was immediately attracted to Bianca without even knowing anything about her. He just decided, yeah, she's the one for me. But again, I can forgive it. It's a Shakespeare thing. They decide Romeo and Juliet, they're like, yeah, we love each other. And they're like, do you have any reason to? I don't know. But his friend zone frustration in the car is such a dick move. How many times have you seen, that the Night Skies Finish Last crowd wail and moan about they're trying hard to be, good to get the girl, right? Like, oh, I did everything. I learned French for her. I invited her to this. I did that. And never actually make the move. Never really ask the person out. Never have the balls to do anything. And Cameron pretty much tells her in the car, Cameron says he was only nice to her because he wanted her. He was acting like a friend because he wanted her. Everything he did, he expected something in return. And when he didn't get it, he got frustrated. I think that's a total dick move.
We call that the swan move in our circle of friends. You do the swan move.
What circle of friends is this?
Oh, it's a circle.
It's a more of an oblong shape.
But I mean, you see that, she's attracted to Joey because Joey is very clear about the fact that he wants her, and Cameron doesn't really do that. And so you can't expect, again, it's not being a dick. If you're nice and you also express interest, that's one thing. And then if she's leading you on, then it's on her. But
I'm going to jump in defense of Cameron here because I think his feelings were known to Bianca when tutoring her for French class. He's like, how about I take you out? We'll go over dinner. And she's like, what? Why would you do that? And he's like, I like you. I want to take you out for dinner. And then she says, well, I can't because I have this fathered thing and all this stuff. So she knew. And there were scenes where it's not fully explained because this movie's fucking terrible and has terrible direction and terrible writing. But they're out on a date under an overpass at one point, alone together, and they're kind of talking there. So she knew that Cameron dug her.
She knew that Cameron dug her, but he did all those things under the guise of being nice when he actually expected something from her. I think it's really dick. Joey doesn't do shit for her, but at the same time, it's like he's not doing nice things because he wants her. That's kind of fucked up.
And that's why she ended up banging Joey, because at least he was honest. She knew it.
Wait a minute,
Bianca didn't bang Joey.
No, what movie did you watch? Did you watch?
Oh, sorry, Cat. I thought you were talking about Cat. This is the Brazzers version I watched. I'm sorry. Also,
what?
Hold on. Isn't it also a betrayal for Bianca to knowingly sick Patrick onto her sister? Everyone thinks that Patrick has this criminal record. He got out of jail. He has no liver. And you're going to tell this psychopath to go date your sister?
Yeah, but she didn't pick him out. Cameron picked him out.
Right, but she knows that this psycho is going after her sister. She knows he's part of the deal.
Yeah, dude, but have you ever been a teenage girl? They want, if you want to go on a date at any cost, you will go on the date. But that gets to the next point, though, is that with Patrick, why is he so nice? I mean, again, we talked about the fact that he might, that love does strange things, but we're introduced to this guy, as you mentioned. We see him smoking in class. He's drilling through books. He's terrifying other students. Suddenly, he turns into a perfect gentleman, without even a hint. Even a hint of being terrible. It makes no sense. It's just too perfect a trope. This is that 90s thing. And you look at the boy bands, it's the same thing. They want the bad boy with the heart of gold. And it's a huge departure from Petruchio. Now, Petruchio in The Taming of the Shrew he's the bitch's bastard. He is, I'm going to sew you up in a dead animal for several days. I'm going to lock you in a room. He breaks the shrew, right? And in, you're not seeing that here. And I think it would have been a much more interesting movie if Patrick were actually incredibly cruel. And that's what won her over. And you see hints of that, but he never really goes there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole, The Game, right? If they had made this movie like The Game, where all he does is just straight up negger the entire time and do a little bit of peacocking and some close-up magic tricks, he could have tamed that shrew very quickly, right? That's the kind of taming that I wanted to see in this movie. I didn't really need the stadium. What was the song? I Can't Keep My Eyes Off of You by is it Richie? Not Richie Valens. Who sings that? Can't take my.
Hey man, don't jump in a pool unless you can swim, son.
Aha!
Pull that name.
Ugh.
See, you didn't have to say bye. You could have just said the song name, but you went there.
I did.
No one's going to help you.
Thanks, guys. Let's see here. Can't take...
Boop, 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 boop.
It's Frankie Valli, sorry. You just cut all that.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
All right. We done?
Now that we've derailed the conversation, where the hell were we?
Go back to Joey. Joey offers to pay Patrick.
Joey offers to pay Patrick to take Kat to the prom so he can take Bianca. Patrick initially refuses, but relents when Joey offers him more money. Kat is still angry with Patrick, but he wins her over by serenading her with the accompaniment of the marching band, and she helps him sneak out of detention. They go on a date, which turns romantic, but Kat becomes suspicious and angry when Patrick insists that she go with him to prom, an event she is adamantly against. Bianca is irritated that Cameron hasn't asked her to the prom, and so accepts Joey's invitation, but Walter won't allow it unless Kat goes too. Kat confesses to Bianca that she dated Joey when they were freshmen and, succumbing to peer pressure, had sex with him. Afterwards, she regretted it and Joey dumped her, so she vowed never again to do anything just because everyone else was doing it. Bianca insists that she can make her own choices, so Kat agrees to go with Patrick, and Bianca decides to go with Cameron instead of Joey.
I understand that gym class offers everyone an opportunity to sit around the bleachers and talk, but what fucking high school has this stadium? And do they need to practice every single possible sport and band at the exact same time?
So my girlfriend is a girls lacrosse coach, and I've seen the way high schools treat scheduling for sports. And I played football and basketball as well, and coaches fought fiercely for time on the field. Marching band was never allowed on the field at the same time as any other sport, and girls soccer came even after marching band. So this makes no sense at all. And apparently PE was in the mix too.
Yeah, you're also missing track, archery. There was everything under the sun. This was like the damn Olympics. It was like the Summer Olympics.
What do Americans play? Let's put all the sports on there, on the screen.
Come on, Younger, you were born in New York. Get with it. So if we want to talk about things that are just completely unbelievable, though, Patrick singing and dancing like a pro, sliding down that pole, and he's got all the moves. This is a guy who, again, is like the most feared human being in the school. And I wish that they'd at least built an explanation to this story, like in Greece with, Danny Zuko living a double life. Like maybe Patrick was a theater dork when he was in Wisconsin, and then he's actually just a really good actor, so he actually just created this character that he was playing, something to make this make sense. How does he know how to move like that and how to sing like that? And and how has he suddenly found this zest for life out of a woman he barely knows?
Yeah, and everyone seemed to be having a good time with it. Like, he was in concert with the band. The band was playing along with him. He had access to the wireless microphone from the stadium. I don't understand why the cops showed up and they'd be upset about this. They probably, enjoy this. They wouldn't be, chasing him back and forth, up and down the bleachers.
To be fair, the band was paid off. You see him pay off the band. So, yeah, he bought the band.
So each of the band members, because only at this point he's been paid, $120 maybe, so each band member gets 45 cents.
Oh, the thing is, they live in Padua. They don't need fucking money. They're all rich white kids.
That's right.
It's just the gesture.
Aha.
Yeah. Well, do we know? Did Heath Ledger actually sing?
No,
I think he did. I want to believe he did.
It's not great singing, I would say, probably.
Well, in Pause, he plays a character named Oberon. So I'm going to have to go back and.
You seem to know a lot about this movie, Pause.
I'm going to have to go back and check to see if there was any kind of musical numbers in Pause.
Hold on.
What?
Look at Heath Ledger sing in 10 things. Listen, it came up in Google searches here. Hold on. So according to IMDb, which again can be edited by anyone here, it was Julia Stiles who suggested Frankie Valli's Can't Take My Eyes Off You for Heath Ledger to sing to her on the football field. Heath Ledger is the third actor to actually sing this song prior to playing a Batman villain.
Nice.
So
amazing.
Christopher Walken also sang the song in The Deer Hunter before playing Max Schreck in Batman Returns, and Michelle Pfeiffer in The Fabulous Baker Boys in 1989 before playing Selena Kyle, Catwoman.
Dude, she was smoking hot in that movie.
So hot. Anyway, the answer is yes. Heath Ledger did sing that.
So he was real. The realest thing about this movie, though, was Kat sleeping with Joey. I thought this was a very strong piece of writing. I really like this. They did not have to put this in the movie. It cuts you. It elicits an emotional response. It gives Kat some depth. The fact that she's not just like the way she is for no reason, and in fact that this is a very shameful thing for her. It explains Joey's behavior. And it also gives an important lesson to controlling parents that kids can bone without going out on dates. Like, for instance, if you let them go to Club Skunk all the time, they might meet somebody and have sex there. A date is not the worst thing that can happen to your kid.
Wait a minute. So I don't really understand. So the inference that I got from this is that he was just terrible at sex.
No, he
Not
was
that
a
she was
quasi
ashamed.
celebrity. No, he's like a JCPenney model, but he has a small penis.
Right, which is why she's not still sleeping with him.
No. So they had sex. She realized that it's not something she wanted to do anymore and that it was a mistake. And he broke up with her because she wouldn't have sex with him anymore.
Yeah, because he had a small penis.
But no, it's not because he had a small penis. But the point being, again, they did a good job explaining why he hasn't gone out and told the whole world he banged her. It's because she would then go tell the cheerleaders that he's got a small dick, which they're probably going to find out anyway.
Wait, but don't the cheerleaders already know? Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, anyway. All is going well at the prom until Bianca learns that Joey planned to have sex with her that night. Angry that Bianca has spurned him for Cameron, Joey reveals his arrangement with Patrick, which causes Kat to leave heartbroken. Joey then punches Cameron, but is in turn beaten up by Bianca for having hurt her, Cameron, and Kat. Bianca and Cameron share another kiss.
So I feel like we're missing a part of the formula. You know, all of these rom-coms, teenage love flicks, all follow a basic blueprint. You know, you have misfit kid who's, really the diamond in the rough, who is part of a bet by the cool kids who then conform, they make them cool, then they go bad and they actually break up, they realize that they were the one they've always wanted. And then there's kind of a montage where we see the character who has caused our diamond in the rough pain, making up for it, realizing, becoming better, fixing themselves. What the hell does Patrick do to earn Kat's respect and forgiveness?
2 words for you, Big D. Fender Stratocaster.
That's right.
Again, she's violating her character's core. If you buy her something, she will fall back in love with you and probably have sex with you.
It's the symbol. He used the money to buy the guitar, the money that he was given. It's showing that the money doesn't matter.
Wait a minute. He paid off the band and bought a Fender Stratocaster? How much money is he getting?
He probably he got it on pawn.
Aha. And also, she doesn't mind the fact that he used her as a toy in his game, that his love might not have been real. You can just buy that off.
Hey, this is Heath Ledger circa 99. Like,
yeah.
Did you not see him? He's beautiful.
Oh, that he's got a great face. Yeah, and it's Seattle. Everyone wants a guitar. Everyone thinks they can get a band, get a record deal. Pearl Jam.
I think Big D, you're applying adult logic to a high school senior.
No, I'm applying it to every other movie. Every time that the guy breaks the girl's heart, he has to do something to show he's learned from the situation. He has to earn back that love. And it doesn't involve buying a guitar or buying something material.
Yeah, he just needs a fuck a pie or something like that.
See, what he did was he already blew his load early because he did the whole stadium thing. He should have done the stadium thing after the prom. That would have made a difference. Yeah, is that a grand enough gesture for you?
Yeah, when is the appropriate time to give someone a Fender Strat?
What's he supposed to change? He's already the perfect man. Like, what the hell do you want him to do?
She doesn't like smoking.
He quit smoking.
Yeah, for her.
But then he pulls a cigarette out in her front porch. He obviously still had him with him. He's still smoking. He's a liar.
I bet he could roll it up in his sleeve and look badass.
Probably.
Anyway, bands at the prom. Say Ferris is the ska band. That's how you know it's the 90s, because there's still ska going on. You actually enjoyed this band, Big D. You loved Say Ferris.
I do. I like that song, but I went to a small high school. We didn't have a band, and our prom was at a very small venue. Did you guys actually have a band, or did you have a cheesy DJ?
I went to a school with a senior graduating class of 800 kids, and we did not have a band. We had a cheesy DJ that played all the songs that you would expect. Save Ferris was not that hard to get at the time either. I mean, I saw them at Boston's in Scottsdale, Arizona. And actually, Monique and I shared a pizza together. That's how small a band they were. I was like a teenager, and she was just hanging out, eating pizza. I was like, "Here, you want some pizza?" So you could easily have afforded Save Ferris for a party, but high schools didn't do that shit back in the 90s. That's like a 50s Back to the Future type thing.
Yeah, no. And then for some reason, he not only has the Fender Strat, does the big whole like stadium reveal, but also gets Letters to Cleo to play for specifically for Kat.
Fun fact about Letters to Cleo: they performed, I believe, "Cruel to Be Kind" during the prom scene.
That's correct.
And "Cruel to Be Kind" is actually written based on a Hamlet line, so it was an homage to Hamlet. More Shakespeare. Gene Lyons so happy.
Enough, not enough, and never ending. Just thought I'd think about it, and it might be. The comfort of a knowledge that rises above the sky could never parallel the challenge of acquisition in the here and now. Here and now.
What you see there is Raj demonstrating that he's a modern man, much like Cameron in this movie. Did anyone else love the fact that Cameron, like, you know, a lot of guys who get their masculinity offended by the fact that they just got knocked out by a dude, but then their date beat the shit out of him. Cameron does not give a fuck. He is happy to get the girl, doesn't care that she beat up Joey, who beat him up. His perspective is good. Like, Cameron is winning me back at this point because he's just like, hey, I look like I'm 12. I've got the hottest girl at school. Life is good.
The next day, Bianca reconciles with Kat and begins dating Cameron. Walter admits that Kat is capable of taking care of herself and gives her permission to attend Sarah Lawrence College for an assignment in which the students were required to read their own version of William Shakespeare's Sonnet 141. Kat reads aloud a poem titled 10 Things I Hate About You, revealing that she still loves Patrick. Patrick surprises her with a guitar bought with the money that Joey paid him and confesses that he has fallen for her. Kat forgives him, and the two reconcile with a kiss.
Yes. This Fender Strat. So they fall back in love. Kat writes the world's most hideous poem. For being such an intelligent and dark girl, she writes some absolutely shit poetry. She's a fan. We're to believe, again, Big D, this is not true to the character. We're to believe she's sitting there reading Sylvia Plath. She's a Shakespeare fan. And she's this crappy a writer. Like, I've literally dated a woman with the same exact literary taste as Kat, and she was a much better poet. This probably stems from having the most unprofessional English teacher in America who will kick you out of the room just for being white.
Which I'm okay with. I'm okay with that.
I got to be honest. At this point in the movie, I think I zoned out. I don't even know what was going on at this point.
Wait a minute. So you dated a girl who wrote you poems?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of poems did she write you?
Very dark poems.
Like,
very dark poems.
Can you recall any?
You know, actually now I mean, I have them, but I don't have them like readily at hand. But we wrote poems to each other. It was very nice.
Can we post some?
I'll give you some of my poetry.
Oh, yes. No, of your poetry?
My high school poetry. Oh, you want her poetry?
Yes, hers about you.
I'd have to get permission.
Why?
We don't give names? Yeah, we'll blur out the name.
It's pretty personal.
Is it really? What kind of stuff would she write about in the poems? Was it about you? Was it about
it was about me.
Paraphrase, please tell us.
His brown eyes, his black hair across.
No. It was much more. It was much darker than that.
It was much darker than that.
Yes.
28 is the size of his pants.
About life and death and the nature of our being and stuff like that.
Listen, if some girl wrote a poem like that to me, I would immediately break up with her.
It wasn't immediate. It's a breakup.
But listen, if anyone wrote a poem about, I don't know, I find that's like cheesy and cheeky. I don't know.
If it rhymes, like 10 Things I Hate About You.
Then I'm in. Then I'm okay. Then I would be all right with it.
I love the way you sound on mic and when we ride in Scottsdale on bikes.
On our bikes. But the final speech, though, that Walter gives to Kat wasn't all that bad, right?
Yeah, I thought that, the father to daughter talk, it doesn't make a lot of sense considering that just days ago he said that she was wretched and based his other daughter's entire dating possibilities on whether Kat could get a date. But I thought it was a decently written look at what parents feel. I love that line that he said, that he felt like a spectator in her life. And I think that some of that rang true. I can identify with that and other parents that I've known and my own mother. This is some of the better writing in the movie, and I thought that moments like this made the movie at least, if not palatable, at least digestible as some sort of film. I don't think it was all that bad because of stuff like this. Again, you've got Walter, who's been the butt of every joke in this movie, and finally you get a moment of tenderness between him and his daughter, and I thought it was pretty good.
I feel like this movie, you know how some movies have just been overwritten and written and written and written again, and then it finally turns out like such a strange departure from what it originally turned out to be? Do you think that this movie was written a little bit probably more closely to the original Shakespeare, probably had a little bit more adult themes, and then Disney got their grubby little mouse fingers on it and then made this like a over-the-top screwball teen comedy? Because there's no reason for a penis to be drawn on Michael's face. I felt like it dumbed down the movie.
Yeah, I think it was just, this is evocative of that in late 90s zeitgeist where the movies were being made based on literary works. Like you had She's All That, which is loosely based on Pygmalion. Like you basically had these movies where that was the formula. It was find a classic literary work and then base a movie on it, but make it fun and make it for, again, we have to remember who this audience is for. It's very hard for us as three grown men to watch this movie and go, oh yeah, it hit the mark or not, because it wasn't made for us. So I don't know even if I'd seen it at 19, if it would have made any sense to me, because it wasn't made for me. It was made for that 14, 15, 16-year-old girl.
All right. Well, with that being said, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our Shat meter and tell you how many wipes this movie would take to get off your butt. If you've never listened to Shat the Movies, 0 Wipes is a perfect movie. It's a perfect adaptation of a William Shakespeare play in all its glory. It is just fine. You go and you just watch the brilliance unfold, but you have to do none of the work afterwards. 5 Wipes is the equivalent of going to the Globe in the Elizabethan era of Shakespeare and actually using the facilities at the Globe, where it would just be terrible. There was nothing to wipe yourself. It was just a disgusting mess. So that's our wipe meter. 0, great. 5, bad. Big D, how many do you give this?
I'm clearly going to the Globe, and I'm using an open trough. This is a 5-wipe movie, and I don't do this for myself, but I do it for those 9 other souls that I made suffer this weekend, and I apologize. I promised them I would make it right. I understand what they were going for. I understand that I'm not a 15-year-old girl, but I thought it was unfunny. It was unoriginal. The slapstick humor didn't work. There was no personal growth for Patrick. The dad's hijinks, the motorcycle crash, and I thought there was an element of cruelty in it. From when they line up potential suitors for Kat, they're humiliating a group of students that normally are championed. There's an obese kid. There's somebody who's obviously mentally challenged. I didn't feel the movie had a good heart, and for that, I'm going 5 wipes. I would go 6 if I could.
I'm going to give this 5 wipes. This movie's terrible. I thought it was a comedy. It's not. It's something else. Even Julia Stiles, her hot body at the time, dancing on a table, could not steer this movie. Even the PVC wearing Heath Ledger could not save this movie from a 5-wipe score. This movie is utterly ridiculous. I can't understand how it has such a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Gene.
I can't believe you guys are going 5s here. 5s should be reserved for Highlander, should be reserved for Willow. I mean, movies that are just awfully put together, make no sense, look cheesy. This movie wasn't shot poorly. The cast is actually pretty good. It does have its faults, clearly. I agree it's not very funny, but it at least has a coherent plot. It at least has, somewhat believable characters. And it has some memorable moments, and Julia Stiles' teeth are amazing. So to me, this is not the peak of Shakespeare. If anybody wants to see this done right, the Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton Taming of the Shrew, it is dated, but man, it is wonderful. It's just amazing. I mean, they are cruel to each other. It's beautiful to watch. Okay. I would say watch that.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'll go back to 4.5 wipes.
You're such a pussy.
I'll go to 4.5 wipes.
You
4.5
are so
wipes.
Cameron.
Listen, I'm only giving it 4.5 wipes because Letters to Cleo is littered throughout this entire movie.
And you got that rooftop scene alone.
That rooftop scene alone.
And this is why, Raj, you are Cameron, and you will be perpetually stuck in the friend zone with our listeners.
Good. Great.
He's talking about Cameron from this movie, not Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day.
Oh.
Yes.
I was way off.
So I'm going to have to go again. I did not like the movie. I cannot justify 3. I'm going to go 4 wipes on this.
All right. So 4.5, 4, and 5. Let's do the math on that. Gene, how many wipes is that in total? What is the median wipe score?
4.5 wipes.
So, Big D, where does that put this in the pantheon of Shat movies?
Okay, so at 4.5, and oh god, Independence Day was a 4? How did that happen? Okay.
See, that's fucked up, man.
Hold on, just listen. At 4.5, this is in a dead tie for 36th with Highlander, and the only worst movie in the entire VCR library that we have currently been able to go through is Willow at 4.83. So this is the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I feel about right.
Wait, you're really telling me you think this movie is as bad as Highlander?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Sean Connery, the Spanish Egyptian. Christopher Lambert, who can't speak English.
Yet Queen.
Yes.
This is
that bad.
Damn it.
Anyway, Big D, what is the next movie we're going to be doing?
So the next category we have coming up next week is Best of Chevy Chase. We had some good ones. Three Amigos, Fletch, Spies Like Us, and the winner from 1980, Caddyshack, at 36.5%.
I feel like Chevy Chase is barely in that movie.
But his role is legendary.
Yeah, but this is Caddyshack over the Three Amigos. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Hold on. You're preaching to the choir. I wanted Three Amigos or Spies Like Us.
Billy, do you do drugs? Every day, sir. Good. You can look forward to that and more humor from Caddyshack, 1980. Chevy Chase. Now's the time of the podcast where we do our shout-outs. What is a shout-out, and what do we have?
Shout-out Raj is when someone can go to the website and show their support by giving us their name to read on the podcast. Just go to shatthemovies.com. Scroll down, you'll see a little slide-out. You give us your name. We give you recognition on the podcast. I've got a few here. We deeply appreciate you listening. Thank you to Jack, Eric D., Kohan, Joe from Annerley, Brisbane, Crooked T, Rich Watson, Marty, Uncle Cullen, the vampire, Becky, Jeff, Gary, and Scottish James.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow us at Shat the Movies. You can also search for us and find us on Facebook. Just search for Shat the Movies Podcast. Our website is shatthemovies.com, where you can vote on all the upcoming films. We've got like weeks and weeks and weeks that you can go in there and vote. I want to make a suggestion, but I want you to email it in. I want the worst of Arnold Schwarzenegger. The worst of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Movies such as Jingle All the Way or Last Action Hero. I mean, just like the worst possible movies of Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you have other movie suggestions other than the worst of Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can email those in as well. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by iTunes, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. Also, you can check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, and now Game of Thrones. You can find all the information over there at shatontv.com. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Gene Lyons, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for our Caddyshack review. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, good night, and good luck.
But it was sweet when they killed Ellis.